Hello, and welcome to another edition of the NRS Insights podcast. I'm John Lofstock, and today I'm joined by Mason Cowan, who is the Chief Customer Officer at BandyWorks Solutions, which is based in Colonial Heights, Virginia. Mason is the co-author of C-Store Growth Mindset, Making Peace with Accountability, and he was a Convenience Store News future leader in convenience honoree. So welcome, Mason. How are you?
I'm great. Good to be here, John. Thanks for
Good, good. So BandyWorks' main focus is on helping convenience store owners improve store operations, and its mission is to increase sales, reduce loss, and help convenience store owners save time. So why don't you tell us a little bit about BandyWorks and what you do?
um I think the best place to start, John, is at the store manager. We have data and analytics and we do integrations and lots of other things around data, but what it really comes down to and where we spend a lot of time is it getting to these store teams and is it getting to your managers? Because if you think about all of the things that have to funnel through a store manager, whether or not they're directly responsible for it, I mean, they're responsible for the success and the execution in the store. So you've got new marketing programs and, you know, not to mention deliveries and things like that. But if you think about all the new initiatives that are running in the store right now, the store manager has to execute on it. So that's where we're focusing our time is, hey, is it are your managers getting what they need? Are they delegating appropriately? And are they having success with all the changes that are happening in the store?
Now, you mentioned store managers, and that when you think about the role of a store manager at a busy, high volume fuel site, they are doing the work of five people, six people. I mean,
Really?
think
Yeah.
about and they often maybe don't have all the training they need in terms of understanding data analytics and understanding a point of sale system, understanding how to integrate loyalty and back office accounting. I mean, it is a complex job. So what's the kind of feedback you're getting on the help that you're giving them? I'm sure they appreciate it.
Oh, I'd say one of the big things we're focused on right now, we talk to managers on a weekly basis, and we meet them, we interact with them, um, virtually most of the time, sometimes in person, but they're all working on projects, and goals and things that they've kind of carved out, and they could have, five projects at any one time, like you mentioned,
Hmm.
they're doing the work of five, six people, and a lot of them right now are working on delegation for all of the reasons you would imagine, because they've got 10, 20 different things that they could be doing at any one time. And so delegating the tasks and kind of letting go is a lot of the big projects that they're focused on. It seems simple, it seems back to basics, it seems, classic management stuff, but it's so crucial. And then helping them measure their success and is it working? Are they delegating appropriately? Are they letting go too much? Or are they still hands on too much? A lot of our managers, have really tight control. But letting go and trying to work with their teams to do what they need to do is just essential right now.
Sure. And does this go spread out across all levels of the convenience store? Because you do it, you
Oh
have the
yeah.
convenience store, then you've got the food service counters, then you can have, some stores have separate lottery checkouts. I mean, there are so many different components to the store nowadays.
It is. And like you mentioned, a lot of people are, deep into food service. Some are just getting introduced into more complicated food service options. And then, how's the interaction between food service or if they have a QSR attached, what does that delegation look like? How are they splitting that up? How are they thinking about food service labor versus C-store labor? That's always a big topic of conversation about, how do you relegate these hours or how do you think about these hours? Is there cross training happening? And so, yeah, absolutely. That's all involved in the discussion. And so, up and down, not just departments within the C store, but how are district leaders thinking about it? How are the operations managers thinking about how they want to push those goals down in the organization? We just really strive for alignment, and we spend a lot of times with leadership teams about what are the goals operationally, what are the big focus areas? How are you guys trying to execute? and then we just go down the line and work with everybody to ensure that there's alignment. Um, a lot of times before we even start talking about where your data's at or what should you be looking at, we just try to establish those goals and understanding.
So now you guys do these meetings, and I've spoken with Tom about these. I wanted him to let me sit in on one just to see it.
Yeah.
Um, how does it? How do you prevent it from like turning into a big complaint session? I need this, and I don't get that, and
Yeah.
she doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, because I mean, like you said, it's an alignment. So that's a part of the
Yeah.
alignment process. It's also, here's the data, here's what you can do, but it's also a time, I guess, where you can air grievances.
Skilled facilitation, John, I guess. And you got to leave room for that because there's real concerns, and you want to make sure that they're heard without dominating the meeting.
Hmm.
Because people are dealing with some wild stuff in some cases that are really difficult. I mean, deaths in the store. I mean, it doesn't get more serious than that. And sometimes there's a little bit of room for that, that just has to happen. But we really try to be, in our tight sessions, we try to leave room for that. And honestly, we'll even try to work it in a little bit if there's an opportunity there about, hey guys, we know this is real life. Um, but what are you going to do? And
Hmm.
sometimes yeah, they just need a little bit of venting, and then you move
Sure,
on.
absolutely,
Yeah.
because they want to be heard. And all
Yeah,
these, I want to get to like using it as an retention, attracting and retaining employee tool.
absolutely.
But in all the labor studies, money was important, but it was only second or third on the list, sometimes even further down. They wanted to be recognized. They want to work for a company that has a purpose and a cause. They want to be a part of that cause. So, is this an opportunity? Do you facilitate these kinds of conversations to, to use this ultimately as a retention tool and a training tool?
Absolutely. I would say it's a big piece of retention, training, even in the hiring process, just getting people's goals aligned. I mean, we're working with somebody right now, and their first project is making sure all of the employees in the store know the mission statement of the organization. I mean, they're giving, gifts and incentives around if they've memorized the whole thing, and the managers are going around and saying, "Hey, what's the mission statement?" And cashiers are telling them that's how important it is to some people because they know, like you said, money's obviously important, it's crucial, but it needs to be more than that. And we also know that like I think it's something like 70% of the engagement in a store is tied to the manager. So 70% of your employees' engagement and success is directly tied to that manager, and that's going to dictate the execution and how well people are involved. And if they greet the customer when they walk in the door, or if they know the mission statement of the organization, or if they're, really engaged with the job, and if not, they're going to turn over. I mean, crazy high turnover numbers in this industry. Everybody knows
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, and you hear the saying all the time that great employees don't quit companies, they quit managers, and
Absolutely.
you need to mitigate that as much as possible. And while you were saying that, I've told this story a million times. You probably heard it as well. You probably heard me tell it because I repeat myself so much. I'm an
Good
old
story.
man.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Don Zeitlau, the founder of Quick Trip, KT, wonderful, wonderful chain, doesn't need, any introduction. But he part of his mission statement was clean restrooms, said clean restrooms. And to that extent, there is a sign in every Quick Trip KT store. He's retired, so it's probably gone now. But it said, if this restroom is dirty, call me. And that was
Mhm.
his phone number. The phone rang at his desk in every store, almost 900 stores. That is a mission, right? That you talk about executing on a mission statement. Every employee knows if this restroom's dirty, Don's getting a call and it's my shift. So if it's that important to Don, it should be important to me.
That's an incredible story and worth repeating as I think as much as the opportunity presents itself. Because yeah, that I mean that's extreme customer service and management uh
Mhm.
buy-in and hey guys, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Push this button, it's gonna call this the
I'm going to
owner.
call your boss, the
Yeah.
owner, the founder of the
Yeah.
company, right? And that is our industry in a nutshell because the competition is everywhere. I would imagine that, that comes up too. I mean, the
Yes.
guys that you're going out and visiting and working with probably have, convenience stores on, two other corners on a four-corner street.
They do. They do. And some of them, out in Texas, they've got some very, very large competition moving down the street. And I'm sure everybody will know who I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And they said, well, we know we're not going to compete with the big sign that has all the wages on it and, all the things that you can get. We're going to try to get there. We know we have to raise our salaries and we want to raise our salaries. So we're going to help put some things in place to say, hey, this is how we can be more efficient and pay you guys more because we want to do that. And what are some other things that we can do culturally to ensure that, you like working here, it's fun, and you don't want to go down the road and work at the, really cool
Yeah.
giant
Well, you don't want to
place down
say
the
it, but
street.
I'll say it. I ran a store tour once at a NAG conference, and we
Hmm.
visited a chain in Texas called Bucky's, and they do post
Oh
their
yeah.
food service manager salaries, their manager salaries, and they're so high into the six figures. There were retailers going, I'm sending my resume over
Yeah.
here. There were
Yeah, that's right.
that
Oh
was
no.
like, oh my gosh. But the those are not traditional. I mean, it's like running a Walmart essentially. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
uh,
They have a wild operation. It's really
yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
So tell, just focusing a little more about these meetings and, retail, I'm sure retailers, if they're watching this, are going to be talking about, what can I take away? What can I learn from these? So in terms of, the store manager, maybe the food service manager, you're getting everybody on the table and you're doing what now? You're going over analytics, you're going over processes, going over training, going a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we are. We do have certification tracks. A lot of times we start with what are the analytics, just getting them acquainted to the classics, things that they're probably already looking at. We just do it
Hmm.
in a very, you know, focused, intentional, structured way about it. Could be just looking at their categories and comparisons, year over year comparisons. And we try to do it in a very friendly way. We put some weighting behind the numbers so it's a balanced comparison. We look at some of their other control metrics like, shrink or, like shrink at the cash register potentially. Unfortunately, we have found instances of theft. It happens.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just training issues though, or even age verification rates to make sure they're avoiding stings and things like that. And then finally, labor. Labor is usually a little bit more at the corporate office, but that does make its way back into the stores. So for scheduling, they can just make sure their performance is in a reasonable place. And then after we cover all those things, they don't go away, but we have other things that we do around maybe some of the softer approaches, to management. The
Hmm.
fuzzy stuff is one of our, Daryl Meek, who you might know from JD Street. He calls it the fuzzy stuff.
Darryl Meek,
And so
great,
that's
great man. Yeah.
absolutely. And so,
Um,
yeah.
Do you ever bring is this one store at a time, or do you bring multiple stores in and maybe start to have some competitions in terms of, increasing scan rates, retention, etc.?
We do both. A lot of our customers will have just dedicated sessions with their own teams, but we also have mixed groups where other retailers, it's like a peer group. It's
Hmm.
all the benefit that we go to these shows and we go to these conferences where executive level management get to interact with each other. They get to trade ideas. We've kind of recreated that for managers in a real structured way where managers get to hear from other managers. Almost all of them are dealing with similar types of issues. Maybe not that day, but the real benefit of it. And you might have a manager who's been a manager for 30 years talking to either another manager who's been doing it for 30 years and they get to trade ideas and how they're trying to develop their staff. Or you might have a newer one who's maybe 2, 3 years in and they get to hear from another experienced person. And there is some friendly competition as well. I think that's part of the nature of this whole industry. But,
Sure.
they also get to, collaborate on just struggles that they're dealing with and some of the ideas that they've tried to do to overcome management issues or things like that. Or
Mhm.
what a project that they had. I mentioned delegation. Hey, I tried this thing for my cooler and it worked really well. Here's what worked. Here's what it didn't work. and another manager is about to start the same thing, and they go, "Oh, perfect." They'll write it down, and then they'll try to watch out for their plan. So that's really the huge benefit of getting them in a room like that.
Sure. And that kind of validation and that kind of training from your peers is priceless.
Exactly. No,
Mhm.
you nailed it because they go, "Oh, it's not just me," and then it's just like you said, it's
Mhm.
validation and it's peers. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And some of the best interactions I've been a part of with retailers is I've tried that. Have you tried this? Or this works. And it gets tremendous feedback. And what it also does is it builds trust in your brand. And people start to say, hey, I'm using this with BandyWorks and we found solutions for X, Y, and Z. And it grows your reputation.
Yeah, that does
Um,
not hurt. Yeah.
so yeah, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit. What's the most challenging thing about facilitating these meetings or these relationships with retailers? Retailers historically are very analytical, very smart, very if they got a thought, it's coming out. They're not holding back.
Oh yeah. Oh, we welcome it. But it's a lot of it is whew, two things, and I mentioned it. In some cases we're working with people who 25, 30, 40 years in. Okay, well I've been doing this for, you asked me earlier, I'm 36. I've been doing this, as long as you've been alive. So, hey, fair enough. Um, but it's really what we do is very hands-on.
Hmm.
So, I mean, for, if I'm thinking of our BandyWorks ourselves, what's difficult, it's kind of facilitating that. It's very hands-on, it's very live, it's very interactive and very intense. When we're in the meeting, it's great. We love it. We're used to the feedback, like you said, some of the uh they'll just say what they're doing and
Hmm.
not, oh, sorry, I got distracted by a call. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
They'll say what they're doing and they don't hold back, right? And we welcome that. We wouldn't want to stifle that because if we do, we know um, it's not gonna be as real for them. So that's one aspect of it. And I think maybe the other aspect is, well, geez, we've been doing it this way for a long time. This new way, is it redundant? Are we doing it? And a lot of it's just we'll invite people in like you did to experience it because it is
Hmm.
a little different. And a lot of times we're an outside organization. We're coming in and we're saying, hey, we do this. We work with a lot of people. I know we're not maybe what you're used to, but once they get into the swing of things, it becomes just a really awesome peer group. And that's when we know it's working well when it has that peer group.
Sure. And that, that I've heard people say this. I never kind of, you summed it up very well, I think. And that in some of these, oh, I don't want to call them old timers, but some of the legacy employees that have been there for 20 or 30 years mistake the way we've always done things with culture. And that is not culture. That's just the way you've done things. And with analytics and these new tools, there's a better way to do things. And there's a more efficient and cost-effective way to do things, which is probably more important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we try to we're not coming in and saying, hey, this is the BandyWorks way of doing things. We really try to understand what their culture is, what their organization is, what their processes are, how they do things, what the history is. I mean, you come into 100-year-old organization, you're not going to come in and say, well, let's try it the BandyWorks way.
Yeah.
No, we really tailor our approach to what they're doing. We just know that we have a certain framework, we have a certain process of doing things, we have a way of introducing the data to your teams that we know is very effective, and we know it's essential to work it into what you're doing and what your goals are. Because if we tried to counteract that, we know it's not going to, the momentum of your organization is going to blow us out of the water. And
Mhm.
so we really try to, ride the wave of what you're doing and just find the opportunities with your teams to integrate the things you want. Like I mentioned before, what's your mission statement? Do all your cashiers have they memorized it? And
Mhm.
then that's just something we can drill on. It's not our mission statement, it's yours. And we're just helping facilitate some of those discussions and then tying it back to their goals and what they want to accomplish. And we just try to keep, little steps. We're not trying to change the world overnight, just kind of one step at a time.
It's a powerful message. So how can retailers get in touch with you or get in touch with BandyWorks to learn more about what you do?
Oh, they can, the simplest way, they can send us an email, info@bandyworks.com. Or they can call us 804-733-8844. Or they can find us online. I mean, they can find us in here. We're in social media, we're in LinkedIn, we're doing events. So we're around and
Good.
hopefully available.
Oh, I'm sure they can have. I'm familiar with what you guys do. They can learn an awful lot from you, like I said, to cut costs, to be more efficient.
And we've got a ton of content out there. You know this. We did the book, which has case studies in it. We've got lots of blogs about the things we're doing. So even just from a content perspective, just to get some ideas, even if you don't want to work with us, I think we've got some really good examples of things that have worked and people that have tried things that worked out really well that are just on our website, bandyworks.com.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Thanks for joining me today, Mason. It's good to see you.
Thanks, John. Great talking
Okay.
to you.
So, for Mason Cowan, I'm John Lofstock. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We look forward to having you at a future NRS podcast. Have a good afternoon, everyone.